Bankruptcy. The word hit the street like a sucker punch, echoing from building to shining skyscraper. Victoria Worthington, CEO, titan of industry, queen of her own damn universe. One day, she's on magazine covers. The next, she's staring emptiness in the face, her empire crumbling to dust around her. And the architect of her destruction? Not some rival corporation. Not a Wall Street shark. Nope. It was a man she wouldn't have given a second glance. A quiet man. A security guard. Someone she'd once told, and I quote, with a slight, dry emphasis from me now, "People like you are just background noise." Hey, funny how life works, ain't it? This ain't a fairy tale, folks. This is the grit and grime of how things really go down when pride takes the wheel and drives a person right off a cliff. It all started as these things often do, not in a boardroom, but in the dead of night, under the cold, unforgiving glare of fluorescent lights in the lobby of Worthington Plaza. Our man is Michael, 40-something, carries himself with that quiet stiffness you see in guys who've spent time in uniform. Army, couple of tours in places most folks only see on the news. Came home with a few more scars than he left with, inside and out. The pension wasn't much, not in a city that charges you for the air you breathe. So, he pulled the night shift, security, Worthington Corporation. A silent sentinel in a temple of glass and steel, guarding the fortunes of people who wouldn't spit on him if he was on fire. And then there was her, Victoria Worthington. Sharp suit, sharper tongue. Walked like she owned the ground and everyone on it. She had that kind of beauty that could curdle milk, all ice and angles. She kept late hours, always sweeping in or out when Michael was on duty. And folks, she seemed to take a special kind of pleasure in reminding him of his place in her world. One night late, even for her. She's coming through the lobby, entourage buzzing around her like flies on honey. She spots Michael, standing by his post, straight-backed, professional. She'd pause, a nasty little smirk playing on her lips, and her voice, just dripping with disdain, would cut through the quiet. Well, still holding down the fort, are we, soldier? She'd ask. Tell me. She'd continue, drawing out her words with that mocking tone. Does that uniform ever get, I don't know. And here she'd pause for effect. Depressing? A constant reminder of what you used to be, instead of the... Well, and you could almost hear the dismissive wave of her hand in her voice. The nothing you are now? Michael didn't flinch. Years in harm's way teach you to hold your ground. But you could see a muscle tick in his jaw. Her words, they were like little poison darts aimed to wound. He'd just tell her, his voice calm but firm. Mom, just doing my job. Ensuring the building is secure. And she'd let out this cold, dismissive laugh. Secure? She'd scoff. Oh, I feel so much safer knowing a has-been is protecting my multi-billion-dollar assets. You probably dream about your glory days, don't you? Because let's face it, and here her tone would drip with condescension. This right here? This isn't a life, it's a waiting room for obscurity. And then she'd sweep out, her laughter echoing, leaving Michael in the silence. This wasn't a one-time thing. It was her ritual. She'd comment on his slightly worn boots, the old sedan he drove, the simple lunch he'd bring, kicking a man when he's down, just because she could. He never said much back, just absorbed it, took it, like a soldier takes enemy fire. But every word, every sneer, it was filed away. Not for revenge. Not then. More like fuel. For what? He didn't yet know. You see, what Victoria, in all her diamond-studded arrogance, failed to understand is that you never, ever underestimate the quiet man. The one who watches, who listens, who endures. Because sometimes, those quiet men, they carry burdens and secrets heavier than any portfolio. Michael had one such burden, a promise. Years ago, on a dusty, godforsaken patch of ground far from home. He'd held his best friend David as the kid's life bled out. David, young, smart, full of fire. Before he went, he'd pressed something into Michael's hand, a small, unassuming notebook. I can still almost hear David's voice, weak, strained, but so urgent. "Mikey," he'd coughed, "take this, please, for my dad. And he'd gasp for breath. "They ruined him. It's all in here. Proof. The Worthington Corporation." His voice was fading then. "They're not who they seem. Promise me." Michael had promised. He'd carried that notebook and that promise like a stone in his gut for years. David's father had been a decent man, an accountant at Worthington, stumbled onto something rotten, tried to do the right thing, and got crushed for it. Disgraced. Broke. Died of a broken heart, folks said. David had been digging ever since, putting the pieces together. And now, those pieces were in Michael's hands. For years, Michael didn't know what to do with it. Who would listen to a security guard against a titan like Worthington? But Victoria, she kept pushing, kept prodding that bear. Every insult, every casual cruelty, it wasn't just an attack on Michael. It was a desecration of David's memory, of his father's stolen honor. The breaking point came on a particularly bitter Tuesday. Victoria had just closed a massive deal, was preening for the press in the lobby. She saw Michael, and in front of everyone, she tossed a crumpled $5 bill at his feet. Her voice was loud then, performative, for the benefit of the reporters. "Here, soldier," she announced. "Go buy yourself a decent cup of coffee. Try to look a little less." And she paused, as if searching for the most insulting word, tragic. "You're bringing down the tone of my building." The reporters snickered. Her assistants tittered. Michael just looked at the bill on the floor. Then he looked at her. And in that moment, something inside him, something he'd kept locked down for years, finally clicked into place. It wasn't about him anymore. This was for David. This was for every decent, hard-working person she'd ever stepped on. That night, Michael didn't sleep. He sat at his small kitchen table, the notebook open in front of him. Pages yellowed with age, filled with David's neat, meticulous handwriting. Numbers, dates, coded entries, photocopies of ledgers, offshore account details. It painted a damning picture. Years of systematic tax evasion, money laundering on a grand scale, bribery that reached into the city's highest offices. Worthington Corporation wasn't just a successful business. It was a criminal enterprise wrapped in a veneer of respectability. He knew a guy from his old unit, Mark Jennings. Mark had left the service, gone into journalism, the serious kind, investigative, fearless, the kind of guy who lived to tear the masks off hypocrites. Michael hadn't spoken to him in years, but a bond forged in combat? That doesn't just fade. He made the call. Mark Jennings answered, his voice slightly gravelly, alert, professional. "Jennings," he said. Michael introduced himself, steady after all that time. "Mark, it's Michael. Michael Thorne. We served together at Alpha Company, 3rd Battalion." There was a moment of recognition in Mark's voice, then genuine warmth. "Mikey, damn, man, it's been too long. What can I do for you, brother?" Michael laid it all out. The notebook. David. Victoria Worthington. Mark listened, didn't interrupt once. When Michael was done, there was a long silence on the other end. Then Mark spoke, his voice now tight with professional excitement, like he could already sense the magnitude of it all. "Michael, if even half of what you're saying is true, and if this notebook holds up," and I could almost hear him let out a low whistle, "you realize what you've got, right? This isn't just a story. This is a goddamn earthquake." They met the next day. Mark, a whirlwind of focused energy, took the notebook. His eyes, sharp and assessing, scanned the pages. You could see the story taking shape in his mind. He brought in a forensic accountant, a legal eagle. They worked around the clock, verifying every detail, cross-referencing, building an ironclad case. Michael stayed in the background. He'd lit the fuse. Now it was time for the professionals to handle the bomb. 2 weeks later, Worthington Corporation was holding its annual shareholder meeting. Big ballroom, fancy catering, Victoria on stage, radiating smug confidence, talking about record profits and future conquests. She was in her element, the queen on her throne. Then, the doors at the back of the ballroom burst open. Not with a bang, but with a quiet, official authority that's way more terrifying. Federal agents. Suits. Badges. Grim faces. They fanned out, professional, no nonsense. At the same exact moment, Mark Jennings' expose hit the internet. Every major news outlet picked it up. Worthington Empire built on lies. Whistleblower uncovers decades of fraud. Corruption. Headlines screamed across phone screens and news tickers. The stock market, that fickle beast, reacted instantly. Worthington's stock plummeted like a stone thrown off a cliff. Back in the ballroom, a senior agent walked right up to the podium, an arrest warrant in his hand. Victoria's smile froze, then shattered. Her face went from champagne pink to a ghastly chalky white. The agent's voice was clear, amplified, devoid of emotion as he addressed her. Victoria Worthington, you are under arrest for violations of federal racketeering laws, money laundering, tax fraud, and bribery. Victoria let out this choked shriek, disbelief warring with panic in her voice. No, this is a mistake, a lie. You can't do this to me. Her voice was rising in hysteria then. Do you know who I am? Oh, they knew, all right. They knew exactly who she was. And now, the whole world was about to know who she really was. The cuffs clicked shut. The woman who thought she was untouchable was led away, her designer dress suddenly looking like a cheap costume. The empire she'd built on deceit and arrogance? It was already in flames. Michael watched it all on the small TV in the security office of a different building, a smaller, quieter company he'd moved to. No cheering, no fist-pumping, just a quiet nod. He'd kept his promise to David. Justice, long delayed, had finally arrived. It wasn't sweet, not really, just necessary. Victoria Worthington was convicted on multiple counts. Lost everything. The company was dismantled, its assets seized. Some of the money even went to a fund for veterans, a small irony Michael appreciated in his own quiet way. So, what's the takeaway here, folks? Pretty simple when you boil it down. First, pride. The kind that makes you look down your nose at others. It's a blinder. Makes you stupid. Makes you miss what's right in front of you. Like the quiet man in the corner who holds the key to your entire world. Second, never mistake quiet for weak. Some of the strongest people I've ever known. The ones who've truly seen things. They don't make a lot of noise. They observe. They endure. And when they finally decide to act, you better believe it's for a damn good reason. And last? Well, let's just say a little respect goes a long way. You treat people right. Doesn't matter if they're a CEO or the guy sweeping the floor, because you never know whose path you're crossing, or what burdens they carry. That security guard you dismiss? He might just be the one person standing between you and, well, let's just say, an early, unscheduled retirement. This is Revenger Ruby. If you enjoyed this story of calculated payback, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. You won't want to miss the next tale of sweet, sweet revenge.